Hey guys, it's Charles again. Thanks for coming back to our educational series on how to invest in real estate. Last week we discussed about rent to own. So rent to own, similar to single family, you're getting that large sum of payments at the beginning of the lease as an option payment. That is the right for the tenant to buy out the house at a predetermined term. And also, there's an extra bit of rental credit that you get as an investor for extra cash flow. So it truly is a win-win, right? And you're helping out a tenant who has good income, but for some reason are not able to get into home ownership through a very strategic plan. And you're working that out with a mortgage broker. So it's a great strategy. This week, we're gonna discuss about student rentals, what student rentals are, what are the pros, what are the cons, and I'll give you my 2 cents on the conclusion. Okay, so student rentals in Canada, we are blessed, especially here in Ontario. We have the top universities and colleges in the entire Canada. So for that reason, student rentals could be a very, very attractive investment if you're looking to get into that niche. So it's basically a single family home with multi-family rent. So you're buying as a single family home, you're renting out each room to students, and you're collecting rent per room. This rent could range from $500 to $800, depends how big the unit is, as well as if you have like an ensuite washroom. Right, so rooms are individually rented out for students. Also, location is key, right? So each university has their key zones. So this is very, very important to know, because just because you're close to a university doesn't mean that's where the student want to stay, right? So you have to understand where the key zones are, right? Caution, key zone does not mean close to university. So I'll give you an example. Right, in McMaster, right? McMaster is in Hamilton. So the most desirable neighborhood is it's called Westdale. It's actually not the closest to the university. It's approximately 10 minutes walk, 1 kilometer away. This area is very, very popular among students because it has all the major amenities, right? It has restaurants, it has fast food, all the pubs, gyms, shoppers, groceries, convenience stores, coffee shop. This is where people want to hang out. They have alley, which is, if you drink bubble tea, that's one of the major chain. So that's the reason, right? Compared to, if you go south of Main Street West, which is a little bit closer to the university campus, but the housing here are a little bit cheaper because, the students, even though it's close to the campus, they consider it less desirable because it is further away from the major amenities, right? So properties that are the same distance to the university or even closer are not necessarily more valuable. That's the lesson here, right? It's truly a combination of the proximity to campus as well as the major amenities. They still want the lifestyle, right? But even within it, you could be 1 block away from the bus station if it requires a public transit. And if you're walking, especially here in Toronto, our winters can be pretty severe. So even a block away from the bus station could make a property good versus great, right? So the pros is that it has a high cash flow compared to single family homes, but here it doesn't mean the more room you have is better cash flow, therefore better investment properties, right? It's not, right? Here, that's what I mean by more room does not mean better. And you have to understand what your city's legal limit is, right? So depending on the city, the bylaw officer might be knocking on your door if you have like 10 rooms or 8 rooms in one single family, right? And that bylaw is different between city to city. So make sure you understand your city and what the requirements are, so you don't experience, so you don't buy on cash flow and realize that, actually you're over the city's limit by 1 or 2 bedroom. So that could directly impact your bottom line, right? Also, what I mean by more room does not mean better is that if you have, let's say, 5 or 6 bedroom rental, it's much easier to find a group of students who all know each other to fill that unit for the term, right? Versus if you have more than that, like let's say you have 8 bedroom or 10 bedroom, it's pretty hard to find a group of students to fill. You might find a group that has 5 or 6, but then the rest of the bedrooms you might have to individually fill with like a stranger. So that could cause problems down the road when the students are living, especially if there's one group of students, they all know each other, and then there are a couple of odd ones that they don't know each other, or part of a different faculty or different major with a different schedule for class and exam and stuff like that. So my experience tells me, you should find a reasonable room size and the amount of rooms. Don't go too greedy on this, because you're just asking for trouble, right? And also, one of the pros is that if you have a child going to the university, this could be like the perfect investment for you, because you're teaching your child how to get into the business of real estate investing. I know some parents, they even have a shared equity with the child. So maybe the child, because they don't have a job yet, but maybe they have some cash towards the down payment. So if they can contribute even a little bit, when you sell after the child graduate, you could pay off whatever the equity percentage the child owns, so to make it a win-win for both of you and your children learn how to manage the property, and they pretty much live for free during the term of the university, and they're walking away with a considerable profit, right? So those are the pros. If we go to the cons, I would say it's very difficult to get financing, especially if you are buying student rental that looks like a student rental from the lender's eyes, and it already has a tenant filled, right? So very few lenders will lend you on this, so this could be one of the roadblocks. Also, compared to rent to own or like single family, it is a much higher maintenance. There is seasonality in this, and students do turn over much quicker than a family. So expect a higher maintenance, right? So a lot of people think student rentals, you are just waiting for troubles because they will have a parties or they could cause a lot more damage. But this really depends. In my experience, if your property is clean and well suited for student rentals, this kind of stuff should not happen. And one of the ways we can avoid that is to have each of the students sign a parental guarantee. So the parents are literally guaranteeing for the damage and the rental loss to the landlord if anything happens. And you can also, call up the parents if the child is causing problems, and usually that should resolve the issue. Another great point why student rentals are great is because if you are, let's say, renting out to 5 students, you actually have 15 people responsible for the rent. That's because 5 students plus all of their parents, that's 15 people responsible to pay your rent in case something goes wrong, right? And another con is that you really have to do your due diligence, because your success is solely tied to the health of the university, right? So there are questions to ask before you decide to invest. in the university. One of the questions would be, how are the enrollment going? Is it declining or is it increasing? Are they adding more programs, more curriculums, or are they being cut, right? I went to U of T, so in U of T we had a lot of like century, or like, I don't even know, 200, 300-year homes, buildings where we had our lecture. And you can see if the buildings, especially the older ones, are lacking in maintenance and repairs, or are they being proactive and continuously renovating the interior, reinforcing the structure, and adding on to the heritage buildings, right? Another thing would be if they're adding new facilities, right? You can tell if the university is going through expansion. If so, and how does it look like, and if there's going to be new facilities, research fund coming in, just lots on the go, right? So these are questions you should ask yourself before you decide which university to invest in. Something I noticed recently is that because of COVID, people who thought student rentals are you never have risk, because of COVID, some of the programs have stopped students coming in for lectures, right? So this is another risk that I would see if you are solely depending on the students of the university versus if you're just renting out to a family. That's just one consideration. So my conclusion, okay, so student rentals, right? Whether to invest in student rental or not, it really depends on the price, how much you're buying at, the current use, whether it's a turnkey student rental where the tenants are already filled, or it's a vacant unit but the rooms are already set up so you can fill your own, or if it's a single family home that you need to go through the conversion to convert it into a student rental, right? And compare that against your monthly cash flow. That will determine where and what type of property you should buy for student rentals, right? So yeah, so it's a great way to cash flow, but also there are a couple of definitely a couple of due diligence that you need to go through before you decide to take on this type of investment, right? Okay, so if you like this content, go down and if you can download your free copy of deal analysis sheet, that'd be great. That's the spreadsheet I use for myself when I'm looking at the deals. You can practice running the numbers to see if the deal makes sense, and don't forget to subscribe and like. Thank you very much. Bye for now.